Hey everyone, and welcome back. Thank you so much for coming over today. We are talking about the Lionsgate portal, which I'm sure some of you have heard of. It is exact on August 8th, but obviously this is such a strong annual event that we will definitely be feeling this energy throughout the duration of August. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about what the Lionsgate is, what it signifies, and then contextually with the current transits and the current status of the collective, what we can expect individually to perhaps experience based on the context of what's going on. But first, thank you all so much for being here. If you do get the chance to subscribe to the channel, if you're new, that would be wonderful. We are now officially 5 months into this social distancing calendar that we've been doing ever since the quarantines went into effect. We've been here every Friday night doing live premieres, and I'm so appreciative to all of you who have been regulars and who have attended. It has been so wonderful to move through this time of more solitude, more isolation, more connection with the home, with all of you and together. So that has really just been an incredible sort of sideline motivation in this time of extreme distress and in this time of immense difficulty. So thank you guys so much for being here. I am going to be taking the next week away from live premieres, so there will not be one next Friday, and that is just basically because I want to take a bit of time back at the drawing board, take a small recess, and understand what the content is looking like moving forward. It may also be a 2-week recess as well, but I will see how my energy is feeling. And I will, of course, update you guys very clearly because I'm so excited for the content that we're going to finish 2020 with. Finishing into September, October, November, and December. I really want these months to be something really special and spectacular when it comes to energy healing and when it comes to motivation, philosophy, and purpose content-wise on the channel. So it's just going to take a little bit of time back at the drawing board, make sure that I'm rested and healthy enough to move through the rest of this year facilitating this space. But of course, I will keep you guys updated. As I said, there are actually 3 main ways that you can keep up with the channel, and that 1 is on Twitter, 2 is on Discord, and 3 is on the community tab here on YouTube. And I will link all of those 3 things specifically below. I do constant updates on all 3 of those places, and you can really understand, the content calendar and what is coming up, what we are planning. So yes, to give you more specific dates, Friday the 14th of August and Friday the 21st of August, there will not be live premieres, most likely, but I will be continuing with Patreon content for those of you who have subscriptions, which I will also link below. And of course, I will be working behind the scenes to continue crafting more quality motivational content for your path. So thank you guys so much for understanding. Sometimes we just have to take a bit of time back. Life is seasonal, so and I can't wait to craft more exciting content. But intro aside, let's talk a little bit about this phenomenon of the Lionsgate that we are having on August 8th. So I've got a lot of intuitive channeling coming in regarding this. It's so big. It's so really empowering at a heart and solar plexus level that we can almost not comprehend the breadth of our capabilities right now. We are, and I already feel this coming on as I'm filming this on August 6th. It's already so close. As we're moving towards August 8th, specifically the time from about July 15th to August 8th, I think that there will have probably been a very strong, a clear, concise view of anything that's a problem, anything that's standing in your way, anything that's still an obstacle to moving into a very true version of your own purpose will have become really clear, okay? Because this transitory phenomenon that we have once a year, and it's really strong right now due to Earth's alignment with galactic center, it is this year with the context of feeling very pulled in, very solitary, very isolated at a collective level, has given way to us not being so distracted and not so disconnected from our true selves and our true motivation, as we have had to stay in more, as we have had to curb our spending, as we have had to curb a lot of our impulses this year and be responsible, Capricorn energy that we have so strongly, and have had to also exercise some amount of self-abnegation as well. As we have moved through that, it has really made us have to look our purpose directly in the face. So that to me is the reason why this Lionsgate is so spectacular this year, is because we are working with a lot more purpose than we typically are due to the adversity that we've had to face. It has really activated purpose for like every person in a new way, okay? And as we move through August 8th, in a period of time from about August 8th to August 20th, as we finish Leo season, moving through the Lion's Gate, in a sense of a shift in paradigm as well as we go through that time period, what we will see is that it's much more sober, okay? There's something much more concise and much more coordinated. And yes, for some people, this is a major testing time, okay, as we're moving through this August 8th through August 20th time period. Don't be surprised if there's just kind of a natural falling away of anything that is really in the way of your true purpose. If there is a natural decrease in output, or a natural decrease in also connection with other people, if we still haven't really connected with what purpose represents for us, how we want to follow through on our purpose, I think that it's really going to basically give a portal, okay, or an infrastructure to our sense of purpose. And what does a portal mean anyway? Okay, well, there's a lot of different, spiritual significance of portals. To me, what it means is it's not quite as mystical as we might be led to believe. Anything spiritual can or cannot be mystical. It's not really about that. But what a portal represents, yes, is a potential to shift paradigm, to move into a new way of living life, to see a contrast in how you're currently living versus how you've lived before as you've moved through it. But it's also like a doorway, and that's simple. And what does that represent? It basically means that there is a confinement, or there is there's a pattern or an emphasis shifted onto a certain area, and it moves and shifts like rooms. As you move through a doorway, you move into a new room. Every room in every house has a different purpose. So let's say you've walked from a doorway, like from the living room into the kitchen. You've walked into the kitchen, therefore it seems that now it might be about preparing food. It might be about nourishing yourself versus, you were just in the living room. It might have been more about relaxing and more about resting. Every room has a purpose. So this time is a doorway. We're moving into a new sense of purpose. And that to me is the main thesis that I will introduce for this time, is that it's like a shift in purpose. Okay, so maybe we've been in a resting phase of our life, and now we're moving into a more creative phase of our life. Maybe we've been in a creative phase, and now we're moving into more of an organized and infrastructural phase. Okay, life moves through phases like this where there's a certain focus or there's a certain orientation. Okay, maybe we are in a family-oriented phase of our life, and we move into a more self-oriented phase of our life. Okay. Maybe we have been very money focused, or we've been very focused on building a business, and now we're moving into a more, something dealing with the other. Okay, so something dealing more with other people, dealing less with self and dealing more with, the people around us, or with the something outside of ourselves. So I think that all of us can probably identify some sort of shift in purpose right now. And it's pretty immense. It's pretty great. And you might have even noticed this since around February of 2020, or even like December of 2019. I feel that time really started to introduce this into the visual aspect of the mind, okay? So we might have had a lot of visuals about like a new prospect, say we're working on the old job, or we're moving through life in the same old way. But at the same time, we're kind of starting to see a perpendicular thought inside, or a perpendicular type of visualization where, no longer am I really, say visualizing the promotion within this job, within this sphere, but I'm actually seeing myself in a different field, yet I'm still contributing to this field. So this Lion's Gate of August 8th, okay, actually starts a doorway. And it's really interesting because I was talking in the August general readings. Be sure to check those out. They're here on YouTube and on Patreon. I was talking about how it kind of opens a door. And this was before I had really studied into the Lionsgate energy. And it's really cool to see that validation where yeah, there's a doorway in August and we're moving through it. So it's like those visualizations that we've been having do start to become more congruent to reality. Okay. So that is kind of one of the issues with this Lionsgate is, will we let that happen? Will we allow ourselves to flirt with a new context? Okay. Because it is hard with Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto retrograde in Capricorn to, take that leap of faith or to jump out onto a new plane of possibility. But I think that it's really necessary, and especially as we build up to the calendar new year of 2021, when we get a huge injection of Aquarius energy, that is very much about a reinvention and innovation, something unseen before that is manifested into a very bright, shining, and obvious fixed new expression. So that's what we're ultimately building up to. Now, is it easy to also do something undercooked now in regards to that, like an undercooked reinvention, an undercooked innovation? It's not as possible after this Lionsgate as it was earlier this year, okay? Because we've probably all had a desire to reinvent in some way or to have some amount of new context. And then many of us have realized the futility of that as well, as we have, not as easy of an infrastructural system to make changes right now, economically and elsewhere, due to societal events. It is hard to really completely reinvent, but there are some people who have the ability. So as you move into August 8th through August 20th, you're going to really see a lot of signs and symbolisms. Anything relating to like portals or configurations like this, where even earthly architecture is connected to the configuration, because what the Lionsgate also represents is actually a very Egyptian concept where the pyramids of Giza line up with the star Sirius, okay? And the Earth's position in relation to galactic center is very configured. So it's very architectural. So we have a bit of an Egyptian way of going about things. We have, in some senses, a ruthless tinge of wanting forward motion or upward mobility. We also have a very status quo oriented need to maintain certain power structures as well. So that can be interpreted in a lot of ways. But what I feel it is most importantly to be interpreted as is the individual interior sense of power, sense of life force, sense of motivation, purpose, fulfillment, manifesting into outward realities. So that is the main thing. And what we have the ability with at this time, as that alignment takes place, is the ability to really understand what our internal emotional, chemical, and structural ideas are best manifested as, or as best realized by, okay? Made real by, made true, made structural, made almost, like if you think of like the pyramids of Giza, it's like those pyramids are a type of manifestation, okay, of a certain power complex made earthly, made real. So this alignment, and with Sirius being the brightest star, or one of the brightest stars certainly that we can see from Earth, it means with its alignment with those pyramids is like how bright shining our internal motivations become, how strong our like solar plexus activation, which solar plexus is like this. It's like the motivation. It is the, how we have a drive to do something, how we want to sustain our life force. And it's a very like a bright shining energy as well. Very leonine. Okay. Very like Sirius energy. Like the star Sirius energy. So what I think is that we have to understand what we're wanting when we're waking up in the morning. We have to understand what we are truly craving and try to really take a new pattern or innovate a new cycle that leads us up to being powerfully connected to that by the calendar new year of 2021, but also not letting the ego have complete control of it. Because I think that what you can also do with this portal is really enter yourself into a paradigm of hierarchy and like courtly precedents as well. So not that that's really bad, as that is still a very strong way that Earth is expressing its dynamics. Although I will say it's not super popular as we get into the Aquarian time. Aquarius is a much more like equalizing and like transient energy, where it wants to really feel fostered through a sense of oneness, okay? And hierarchy is antithetical to that. Hierarchy is a divided sense of power. So that's the issue with this portal now, is that it kind of works. Like, you can see how these new ideas or these new notions are really well set with the current status quo with the Capricorn energy, as Capricorn is the sign of hierarchy. But it's fading, okay? It's fading, and it's going to have one more sort of like great, direct motion throughout the rest of this year after we get into September and October. But then it's going to really fade fast, okay? So that is the difficult aspect of this portal, is that we can really devote everything, or we can really think, okay, I'm finally going to get behind purpose, just to see that that is not really a well-seen or popular manifestation of purpose too far into the future. So it's kind of like you have like one of two choices. Like, you've either really got to jump on the bandwagon now and make these like certain purposes like happen by November or December of 2020, or you've got to kind of understand that there's going to be a new vision, there's going to be a new innovation, there's going to be a new idea of how these hierarchies, or how these purpose motivations are implemented. Okay, the implementation really changes up in 2021 when it comes to how we fulfill our lives, how we look, how we appear, how we face forward, how we project to others in our sense of purpose and motivation. That is something that's really going to be alchemized into something else. Aquarius is the sign of alchemy, okay? And we're not there yet, but this is good to start talking about, because this portal really moves us into the ending phase of the Capricorn energy, and we will start to progress towards Aquarius. So it's important also to know that Aquarius is the best thing. It's the most harmonious sign. We are in the age of Aquarius millennially. So there's nothing wrong with Aquarius. Some of us can kind of fear this, though. Some of us can think this isn't right. Some of us can be like, but I just understood how I can get my power back as a person. And Aquarius is not about disempowerment. It's not about stripping people of their feelings of power, but people who are really tied into the hierarchical idea of that, it can feel like that, because it's a very equalizing energy. Although there is a sort of hierarchical power invested in that which can equalize, or that which has the alchemic capability to affect those changes. So Aquarius is not completely dismantling of hierarchy. It's not completely drowning that out. It kind of brands itself as that, though. So there is even a little bit of, I'm not going to call it deception, but there is a little bit of illusion still in Aquarius's energy, as this is the preceding sign to Pisces, which is the sign of deception and illusion, and things are not what they seem, things are not as they appear, yet finding a sort of spiritual or religious or comfort spectrum within that reality. But Aquarius is not completely devoid of that. It has that in a different way. But Aquarius is very much like, it can be very cultish, and it can be very dogmatic as well. So we have to make sure when we are activating through purpose, and the point that I'm making here is that we're not getting too enmeshed in alchemical thoughts that have not yet been manifested, is as simply as I can put it. Like, there has to just sort of also be a natural rhythm, I think, especially now, in 2020 still. There has to be a somewhat of a natural solution, or somewhat, because again, we're still in Capricorn. We're about to go into Virgo season on the other side of this Lion's Gate as well. Uranus and Taurus. We're going to go through Earth trines. I can't wait to make content for this period of time, because September, especially of 2020, is like an incredibly healing time, potentially. So that's kind of looking into the future when we're talking about the alchemic power of Aquarius. And we're not quite there. So we have to still allow somewhat of a natural momentum, okay? We are where we are now. There's not much we can really do to shift our momentum now, but we can shift our purpose. We can shift our idea of how we are manifesting as well. But as it is connected to the home, to the location, to the projection. These things are very much needing to follow a natural momentum now. So that can be very comforting, actually. And I think that that's really one of the most important things for this Lionsgate is how can I take comfort in the natural momentum now? How can I understand that this is okay? All right. How can I understand that I am not in danger, or that I have no need to really be afraid of my momentum now? Are there alterations to be made? Yes, Virgo season will really give us a chance to prune up the plants of our lives, proverbially. It will really give us a chance to let go of certain things, to make alterations, if you can imagine like an incredible fabric being draped over you, Virgo season will tailor that to your perfect silhouette. So we have to know that that's coming on. And with that coming on, we don't want to overstress the fabric. We don't want to alter things too quick or too soon, or trying to control it too much. For those of you who've ever crafted metal or who have ever made jewelry, you'll know that when you're crafting the metal or you're trying to bend the metal with the tools, it takes just small amounts of touches here and there. Once you've crafted it too much, once you've shifted it too much, it loses its like shape and it looks too crafted, and it will sometimes break as well. So that's very much energetically what we're going through right now, is how can we make the perfect little alterations, the perfect little movements of the metal, and still create and craft something beautiful energetically, but not over stress the fabric or the metal. You know what I mean? That's really what Virgo season is going to be a lot about too. Although I will say there's room for more alterations in Virgo season than any other time of this year. But as we're going through the Lionsgate here, we really need as much time as possible to see our mental and emotional health as well. That's very important to see, like the chemical state of the body, okay? The emotional fight or flight response that is made normal and mundane at this time are very tied to this portal, in the sense that those things can really develop our purpose. Those things can really have a big voice at the table of our purpose, essentially. So establishing more chemical and emotional health right now, great time for psychotherapy for some people, great time for a good astrologer, great time for meditation, calmness, making sure that you're not introducing too many freaky things into your day-to-day life, like anything that deals with like following any type of crazy power dynamics, like really getting invested, like what is this public person, what is this celebrity doing, what are they doing, can I like track every movement that they're making and understand the conspiracy of their lives? Like these types of things have to really start to die down a little bit, because that's very connected also to this year where we're really like have the magnifying glasses out. People are really like invested in understanding secrets, or really invested in the downfall of other people as well. This is like super strong this year. The retrograde Capricorn energy, whereas directed is about the ascension through hierarchy, retrograded is about a downfall or a lowering of status as well. So many of us are like just waiting for other people to have a downfall, and what this does is this actually creates a type of like mania in the body. This creates a type of unwellness, okay? Because that same energy invested into our own rise would be much more appropriate, because we could kind of also see that, awaiting the downfall of somebody else is like, is to really start to form a very positive and loving relationship with the archetype of downfall itself. So you can kind of start to see that every aspect of your life starts to also lower your own status. So we have to really watch out for that, okay, this year. Because, I mean, so many of us have a great deal of work to do on the status of our own lives. And I'm not talking, in comparison to other people, but the status of our own health or the status of our own routine. That's really about to get focused later in Virgo season 2. And I've made videos. I've made an August comprehensive video. I'll link it below. I've made, August general readings, and I've talked about the month as a whole. But yeah, Leo season is kind of a comforting time to just sit with the heart and to also push the body and to get stronger and to find more purpose. And then Virgo season really starts to implement, and it really brings us a much more grand idea of knowing what is and is not an important part of our lives. So it's going to be amazing to see how quickly some of these events start to move into action. It's really awesome, actually, over the next year and a half after this time, to see how quickly some people can motivate into a completely new form of projection, to see how within the time of a week you could completely change the infrastructure of your life, and still have that infrastructure of your life be very congruent with what you had before, but much more optimized. Okay, we're about to go into the season of optimization in Virgo, which is so needed right now. One of the intuitive messages that I will conclude on with this Lionsgate portal is also, as we move through this, as we come out of this time, starting to be comfortable in your identity, starting to be no longer ashamed or guilty, okay? Really detaching ourselves from themes of shame, guilt, fear, distraction, dissociation. It's really important to start to frame those ideas more differently now, because that's going to really play in also to the alchemy of the Aquarius injection that we'll get next year. So if you're still walking through and someone say you're having a conversation with a stranger and someone, asks you, what do you do? Sometimes it's kind of freaky to be very clear and upfront with people about our connection to life. Like, say you're a student, and say you're 35 years old and you're a student, you're at college or something, and it's just kind of different. I do see a lot of this right now where people are kind of not demographically secure, so they're sort of an outlier. Maybe you're you're the 35-year-old student or the 50-year-old student or something, and whereas most students are in their early 20s, so you might actually just without even realizing it lie about what you're doing or misconstrue your identity to somebody just because you're afraid of not demographically making sense to that person and creating a weird social dynamic. So those types of things really have to fall off with this Lionsgate, because Aquarius, okay, is also about differences. Okay, so it's very Aquarian that this 50-year-old student probably has a great Aquarius injection in their chart, because they're willing to do things that are a little bit different, and they're willing to be outside of the grain of normality. So being outside of the grain of normality is a part of this Lionsgate portal too, where it's kind of people oh, that's what you do, or that's who you are, and that has to be really comforting for you. Okay, it's time to, and if you're finding discomfort in what you're doing, or you're feeling like what you're doing is misunderstood by other people, it's really great to start to understand yourself, what you're doing and what you're creating and what you're manifesting, because that's another possibility. Neptune and Uranus retrograde, okay? Create an environment where maybe we also don't quite understand what we're doing, okay? Maybe we also are at the university, or, contributing to a business or in a relationship that we don't comprehend its significance in our life, okay? So a great time with this portal to understand the significance of that which we are living through, what we are creating, what we are comprehending, what we are manifesting through. And that really feels like the key to unlocking the breadth of our potential through the rest of this year, is to start to really identify with the person that we've become, okay? So on that note, everyone, that is beautiful, okay? And that can even be a frightening thing to consider right now, because of the strength of this portal. It's whoa, I like it can be a bit fearsome to understand that I don't really get the totality of what I'm actually doing. And that's okay, because it's very tall. It's a very towering, again, midheaven energy that we are in with the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. And it's almost like hanging upside down, okay, doing a handstand at the top floor of the skyscraper. You know, it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary to be upside down at the tallest point, you know? So we will get back into it. We will understand how high we've come by being upside down at that point. Then we will also return right side up, and we will peer over the edge and see just how far we've come. So enjoy this process, everyone. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a great, great energy that we can actually work with at this time to become more strong in our identities and to understand what else we want in life. And on that note, I will speak to you guys later. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications. And if you are subscribed, make sure that the bell is turned on, because you will get notified with new videos coming out, and you will also get notified to the community posts as well. So I will be making sure that I'm keeping updated on Twitter, Discord, and the community post about the oncoming calendar. And thank you guys so much for being here for the live premieres for this first phase of really staying together and really staying strong in unison for our, motivation and purpose and spiritual context. And on that note, everyone, leave a comment below. Let me know how you liked this video. How is the Lionsgate treating you? Hit the thumbs up on this video. And as always, the description box is full of other things that I offer. Again, I will be on Patreon posting content as normal. I do tea chats every Saturday over on Patreon, where we talk about the week ahead and thriving and find benevolence in that time. So be sure to get a Patreon subscription if you haven't gotten one yet. It is a great service, and I have been working really hard to ensure that it is a great service. So be sure to check that out. I will link that in the center of this video now. And I will also put a playlist for the August general readings if you haven't gotten to check those out either. So without further ado, everyone, thank you so much for being here. This has been an incredible period of time, and we will talk soon. Much love. Bye.